Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rebooted MCU. Today we are here with Rebooted MCU Phase 8 Part 8. And I know this project has been delayed a bit, so I'm not going to waste any time. Let's jump right into the project. The 8th project of Phase 8 is Thunderbolts, and it takes place in Universe 2038. The project opens up inside the White House at about 3 p.m. in the afternoon as we see the United States President Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Secretary of State Valerie Cooper, played by Alexandra Daddario, and Secretary of Defense Trenton Sanders, played by Oscar Nunez, sitting around a large table watching visuals appear on a screen. On the screen, we see a real-time look at around 3 a.m. at the Qingling Mountain Nuclear Facility in China. China's main nuclear weapons manufacturing plant and the storage facility for their large supply of radon, an element essential to the production of nuclear arms. Suddenly, Val speaks into an earpiece, telling an unknown figure that he and his team are cleared to begin the infiltration. With this, we watch as American Panther, played by Aldous Hodge, begins to command a ragtag group of familiar villains to help break into the facility. We first see Eric O'Grady, aka Black Ant, played by Dan Stevens, shrink and enter a facility security system in order to override it from the inside. After O'Grady unlocks the facility, we watch as Barney Barton, aka Trickshot, played by Greg Kinnear, takes out the security guards, who are also distracted by Pitchfork, played by Adam Sandler, who tells the security guards to put a fork in it. As the group make their way to the radon storage room, we watch as Emil Blonsky, aka The Abomination, played by Tim Roth, prepares to carry the large containers of radon back to the group's ship. When we suddenly hear Pitchfork scream, "What the fork?" as he drops dead. Cooper turns to Val, asking her if she managed to see what happened, with Val screaming at American Panther to provide her with a report of what's going on. This falls on deaf ears, however, as we slowly watch Black Ant, Abomination, Trickshot, and American Panther all fall over dead, with the feed cutting out in Washington, D.C., with the identity of the killer unknown outside of us seeing a few wisps of green smoke surrounding the bodies of the villains as they died. Back in Washington, we watch as Sanders screams in horror, fearing the potential international repercussions of their actions, while Cooper seeks to comfort Val, saying that she can't even imagine what Val must be feeling, seeing her most loyal soldier die in front of her very eyes. Val sighs before shrugging, telling Cooper that in her line of work, life is just like a good bottle of wine. You savor it while you can, and move on to the next when it's done. Sanders tells Val that they should really consider their next moves immediately and prepare to take drastic actions, naming a number of international treatises violated by their actions, before Val cuts him off as she looks down at the picture of the man who was given the golden serum. "No need to worry, Sanders. A predecessor of mine once said that you should speak softly but also carry a big stick. Well, I think it's time I use my big stick. When I don't get what I want, there are always consequences." Val smiles as she picks up the picture of the man as the title card appears. We jump forward to around 9 a.m. the following day as we see Val holding a meeting with her cabinet inside the White House cabinet room. Val's cabinet consists of Valerie Cooper, Trenton Sanders, Vice President Sharon Carter, played by Emily Van Camp, Chief of Staff Julius Layton, played by Andy Buckley, CIA Director Chastity McBride, played by Kathy Bates, Head of the CDC Jeffrey Clive, played by Brian Stepanek, FBI Director Harold Driver, played by Adil Zadid, and Press Secretary Amy Lou Johnson, played by Colby Minifee. After Val finishes giving the group a rundown of what transpired in China, we watch as the group erupts in pandemonium. McBride asking Val how she expects the CIA to cover up this mess. Driver saying the US might have somehow found itself in a worse PR disaster than Russia. And Johnson asking how exactly she should handle the situation if she gets any questions from the press. The questions are shut down by Val, who raises her voice and tells the group to be silent, asking her cabinet if they have ever read Machiavelli's The Prince. Clive raises his hand, but Val does not acknowledge him, saying that she and Machiavelli hold very similar views on power. If a leader wishes to maintain their power, they must be open to acting immorally to get what they want. The cabinet all remains silent as Val continues, saying that all she has wanted is to feel what it means to wield absolute and interminable power. Something that is only possible when she gets her way, no matter the cost. Val tells the group that the US nuclear scientists have been lacking vital resources since China stopped their radon exports into the country. Something that she finds unacceptable. Not only does it make their country look weak, but it also makes her look weak as well. Saying that the small covert ops team was meant to rectify this situation, but due to their failure, she has been forced to take a more drastic approach. Val nods as Julius hands out folders to each member of the cabinet. Photos that have the word Thunderbolts inscribed on the front. As the cabinet members look through the documents, Val explains that the program was something she presented to President Ross many years ago, a program he instantly scrapped. But now, under her leadership, she believes it is time for the Thunderbolts program to be restarted. The simple premise of the program is to have a government-sanctioned team of high-profile inmates who will be granted reduced sentences or full-on presidential pardons if they participate in covert operations for the benefit of the US government. The cabinet continues to glance through the documents as Val tells the group that this could be their chance to regain the power taken from them by the Chinese. They need the Thunderbolts now. She isn't asking them to send off their sons and daughters to fight for their country. She is asking them to send off a bunch of rejected science experiments to make all of their lives collectively easier. Driver asks Val what he should do if he finds the very concept of her Thunderbolts team extremely unethical and highly immoral, a question that causes Val to laugh, telling Driver that maybe she misspoke. But she wasn't asking for their approval, she was telling them that they will approve of the program. As every member of the cabinet except Driver votes to support the Thunderbolts program, Val stares at Driver, asking him if he really would want to risk Harvard finding out about his son's many past DUI incidents, which ultimately causes him to vote in favor of the program. Val thanks her cabinet for the support before screaming at Clive, telling him to have Reynolds ready by 5 a.m. the following morning, something that causes Clive to rush out of the room and back to his laboratory. Val puts on her sunglasses and motions for Julius to follow her, dismissing her cabinet and telling him that she is off to the raft in order to assemble her new team. We abruptly cut inside the office of the Chinese Prime Minister, as we see Prime Minister Deng Xiaoping, played by Kihei Kwan, throwing his teapot across the room and angrily pushing everything off of his desk. Before opening up a desk drawer to remove a large bottle of snow beer as he begins to chug it rapidly. As he does this, he watches Chinese Chief of Staff Chu Hennifer, played by Shunhei Kenshoda, cleans up the mess. As Xiaoping finishes his beer before commenting that he has never met someone like Val before. He first met her when she was Secretary of Homeland Security and he was named the new head of the Ministry of State Security. Even before Val had real power, she still somehow managed to come out on top in whatever situation she found herself in. Henneford comments that perhaps Xiaoping is exaggerating, a proposition that he laughs at, asking Henneford if he has ever stopped to consider why Britain didn't make a national broadcast announcing the creation of a new soldier that had powers granted by the Golden Serum. Henneford remains silent, with Xiaoping saying that there is no doubt in his mind that somehow Val got her serum back, and now that she feels she has gained a trump card, she is ready to use it in order to get what she wants, in their case, radon. Henneford says that perhaps they should consider bringing this to the media, but Xiaoping declines, saying that Val has many international media organizations in her pocket, so a public broadcast wouldn't do much. Instead, China must directly respond to Val's show of force. Henneford says that he doesn't quite understand what Xiaoping is saying, but Xiaoping cuts him off, saying that he has no doubt that Val will attack China once again, this time with a more formidable force. Now, the only way to defeat a formidable force is with an even more formidable force, something Xiaoping plans on doing. We then watch the door to the office open as a girl walks in, a girl who Xiaoping introduces to Henneford as Zhu Jieling, played by Romani Young, the current leader of the 10 Rings who will be in charge of dealing with the American forces when they arrive in China. We then cut inside the raft as we see Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, laying on her tiny bed inside her compact cell, staring at the ceiling, wondering about how much time has passed since she ate that morning. We then hear knocking coming from the cell next to her, revealed to be Alexei Shostakov, aka the Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, attempting to communicate with his daughter through Morse code, but she does not respond. Suddenly, Yelena hears a knocking on the outside of her cell, revealed to be Val and Julius, with Val commenting about how awful Belova looks, but tells her to turn her frown upside down because soon she will be back in action. Val and Julius are then approached by the Vice Warden of the raft, John Walker, aka US Agent, played by Wyatt Russell, who welcomes her to the facility and informs her that the Warden is currently in a meeting with the Apostles of War regarding the upgraded weaponry for the prison. Val tells Walker to lead her to the meeting, but also congratulates him, saying that he has been promoted to be her new personal military assistant, replacing American Panther, who was sadly slain in battle. An excited Walker thanks Val for the promotion, saying that he thought his days of service were over after the Faustus incident, while also expressing his condolences for the loss of American Panther, a notion that Val scoffs at, telling him that what matters now is preparing him for his upcoming mission. After all, he'll be the one to lead Val's new task force into battle. We cut inside of a conference room as we see Raft Warden Clay Quartermain, played by George McKay, watching a presentation given by Apostles of War CEO Ares, played by Michael Shannon, showing off the newest weaponry created by the organization, which Quartermain agrees to purchase. Val, Walker, and Julius enter the room, with Val commenting that it is always a great day when she gets to see her favorite arms dealer in person, expressing her gratitude for the partnership fostered between the Apostles of War and the United States government, a sentiment Ares acknowledges and reminds Val that the offer still stands. He is willing to sell his company to the United States government for $25 billion, a proposition Val laughs at, saying that she would give him $15 billion flat, no more and no less. Quartermain apologizes to Val for not greeting her when she arrived at the wrap, but Val tells him not to worry, handing him a copy of the Thunderbolts program and extending an offer for Ares to join the roster. Ares laughs awkwardly, reminding Val that he prefers to operate behind the scenes these days, a notion that quickly changes when Val offers him triple the normal amount the US pays him in exchange for his arms. Ares happily accepts the offer to join the group as Walker introduces himself to Ares and welcomes him to the team. Quartermain finishes looking over the documents and asks Val if she would like an overview of the inmates, an offer Val accepts, but also mentions that she has chosen both inmate I-25, referring to Yelena, and inmate A-4367, referring to Red Guardian, to join her roster. As Quartermain, Ares, and Walker exit the room, Julius turns to Val, asking her why exactly she wants a literal god on her roster of expandable inmates, causing Val to laugh, saying that she simply wanted to see how her Golden Guardian would measure up against an actual god, a result she thinks will be quite exciting. With this, Val and Julius exit the office in order to finish putting together the final members of her team. As the group begin looking at the inmates who are housed inside the raft, they first encounter inmate SME 1573, Shang-Chi, played by Dallas Yu, who we see pretending to box the wall inside of his cell. Val immediately tells Quartermain to add him to the roster, recalling that Carter made sure to keep his magical bracelets in the event that they were needed for an assignment like this, commenting that her first couple recruits have been absolute winners. However, this trend quickly fades as the next cells contain villains who Val rejects, including Baron Zemo, played by Daniel Bruhl, the Leader, played by Tim Blake Nelson, Benjamin Poindexter, aka Bullseye, played by Wilson Bethel, Typhoid Mary, played by Alice Eve, White Rabbit, played by Juno Temple, the Looter, played by Joe Carey, Cutthroat, played by Gray Damon, Stiltman, played by Charles Nielsen, Grizzly, played by Kevin Nash, and Big Wheel, played by Steve Carell. Val asks Quartermain if he has any other prisoners who actually have some semblance of worth, which Quartermain acknowledges as they approach the cell housing inmate TC-172, Greer Nelson, aka Tigra, played by Rosario Dawson. Quartermain explains that Nelson was captured a few years ago by the West Coast Avengers after going on a crime spree in downtown Los Angeles, causing quite an uproar thanks to the power she gained from experiments performed by Dr. Tumalo, experiments she underwent in order to save her husband's life. Val tells Quartermain that she has no time for sob stories, but instructs him to add her to the roster, lamenting that she would like a team of 9 to better the odds that at least some survive their mission. Something that causes Walker to ask if she is joking. Ares reminds Val that there were 2 vigilantes she instructed Ares to aid directly by providing them with weaponry courtesy of the Apostles of War, something that causes Val to clap with excitement, telling Ares to gather the 2 as soon as possible, telling him to do so under the guise that the government has a special opportunity for them both. With this, Val instructs the men to prepare for a briefing at 5 a.m. in the raft's conference room the following morning. And as Quartermain, Walker, and Ares run off to finish preparations for the upcoming assignment, Val laughs and turns to Julius, telling him that things are easy when saying no isn't an option. Julius awkwardly looks down before Val instructs him to call Clive to make sure he hasn't screwed anything up, saying that it is her time to truly show the world what it means when you screw with Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. We cut to around 4:55 a.m. the following morning as we watch Walker lead Yelena, Alexei, Shang-Chi, and Nelson into the conference room. As the group walks into the room, Alexei excitedly tells Yelena that it appears that they are back in action, something Yelena shrugs off, asking Alexei what the point is. Her life has become nothing more than aimlessly following orders against her will. There is nothing more she can look forward to. As the group enters, we see Val standing just outside the conference room looking down the hallway when a smile crosses her face, welcoming back Ares and the 2 men he was sent to retrieve. Frank Castle, otherwise known as the Punisher, played by John Bernthal, and Flash Thompson, aka Agent Venom, played by Phil Dunster. As Ares enters the room, Val welcomes the men and thanks them for helping to keep the streets of New York safe before Flash cuts her off, expressing his gratitude for the invite, but says that he is on the verge of making a huge breakthrough in his investigation to the new organization running New York's underground. Val says she understands but encourages him to stay. After all, there are still charges pending against him stemming from the Oscorp incident back in 2026. Flash stops to hear the symbiote voiced by Darren DePaul encouraging him to stay and hear her out. It isn't worth the legal hassle to walk away. Flash sighs and enters the room as Frank begins to laugh, saying that Flash is a sucker for letting someone get dirt on him, but unfortunately for Val, all of his charges were dropped, thanks to Mayor Kingpin's executive decree, and everything after is protected under Mayor Cage's vigilante protection law. Val strongly encourages Frank to reconsider, but Frank turns and begins to walk away, saying that his mission is to kill those that deserve retribution for the harm they cause, not to be chained down by some government snob who wants to use his talents for their political career. As Frank continues down the hall, Val sighs and says, "The Butte." Something that causes Frank to stop and walk up to Val, with Val revealing that she has the identity of the mobster known as the Butte, the mobster responsible for killing Frank's family. Frank mumbles to himself, saying that he has been looking for the Butte for years, with Val revealing that S.H.I.E.L.D. managed to subdue him years ago, something his gang attempted to keep a secret from the public. And she offers Frank 10 minutes alone with the Butte in exchange for his services. Frank looks down and recalls the night his family was murdered, shaking hands with Val and growling, saying that he is doing this for Maria, Lisa, and Frank Jr. As Frank enters the room, we watch as Julius runs up to Val, informing her that Clive is going to be a few minutes late, something that Val brushes off, saying that Reynolds won't need to be briefed. Smiling from ear to ear, we watch as Val enters a conference room, eager to get the presentation started. As she enters, we watch as Quartermain tells the group that they have been selected to participate in the Thunderbolts program before inviting Walker up to the podium in order to brief the group on their assignment. As Walker walks up to the podium, Flash calls out, asking Walker if he was the dunce that got his ass kicked by the old man super soldier and his grandson. Walker laughs, not denying the claims, reminding Flash that he is also a decorated military veteran who received multiple distinguished service awards, before telling the group that he will be leading them into China, where their goal will be to raid the Qingling Mountain nuclear facility to retrieve radon for President Val. This causes the group to begin asking questions, Tiger wondering why the US is attempting something so risky and involving convicted felons no less, while Yelena mutters that this is the Winter Guard situation all over again, lamenting about how she always gets involved in stupid stuff like this. This is when Val takes over the conversation, telling the group that each of them were picked for vastly different reasons. For some, it will be to reduce their prison sentences, a sentiment that catches the attention of Shang-Chi and Tigra, while others will be doing it for the money and to avoid prison time. But there is a common nucleus that has brought all of them here, and it's the reason Val decided to choose them to participate in this program. Each person in the room, at their core, are killers, and Val is simply giving them another opportunity to kill. This sentiment causes the group to fall silent as Flash stands and tells Val that he is out, saying that he doesn't care if Val attempts to have him arrested, he isn't participating in her stupid program, especially when he isn't anything like the others she has assembled. As he leaves, Punisher laughs, saying that Flash is just scared because he knows his kill count won't be as high as his. Flash angrily turns around as the symbiote tells Flash to calm down, saying that Punisher is just goading him, prompting Punisher to laugh, saying that he is merely speaking facts, and encourages Flash to leave, saying he wouldn't want anyone else to see how big of a pansy he is on the mission. An angry Flash sits back down next to Punisher, telling him that they will see who has more kills on the mission, causing Val to smile and clap, saying that this is the energy she is looking for. With this, Walker continues his presentation, showing the group the schematics of the mountain along with their plan of infiltration, also mentioning that there was a previous task force sent into the mountain, but they were all mysteriously killed by a green gas, something that they are still unsure about. Yelena asks Walker how exactly they plan to confront a variable that they are unfamiliar with, which causes Ares to laugh, saying that now they have him and there is no obstacle that he can't overcome. Yelena facepalms, saying that at least she will be freed from her never-ending cycle of control if this mission is a failure, prompting Walker to tell the team that they will each be granted use of their customary weapons on the mission, reminding them that they will all be compensated nicely if their mission is a success. They leave in 1 hour, so they should be prepared for the battle that awaits. As Walker finishes the briefing, we watch as Clive bursts into the conference room, apologizing to Val for the delay before saying that the Golden Guardian has arrived as a man revealed to be Robert Reynolds, played by Scott Eastwood. The man who was given the Golden Serum stumbles into the room. As members of the program exit the room, Val walks up to Robert and asks him how he is feeling, with Robert responding that he feels okay and expressing his thanks to Val for helping him to do something with his life. Val laughs, telling him that he has massive potential, and there's nobody she would rather entrust the future of the United States military might to than him. Robert blushes, saying that this is the first time anyone has said something so nice to him. As Julius walks up and hands Val a backpack, which he hands to Robert, telling him that the backpack contains his suit and tells him to prepare to depart with the rest of his team in an hour. Robert stands and laughs awkwardly, asking Val if she is sure that he is ready for action so soon. After all, his treatment just finished, something Val downplays, telling him to believe in himself and instructs Quartermain to show Robert to his own private room. As Quartermain and Robert walk away, Clive walks up to Val and says that he has major concerns about the stability of Robert, asking why she chose to select a former meth addict to be injected with the golden serum, reminding her that on top of this, he suffers from bipolar disorder, a variable that they didn't take into consideration when giving him the serum. Val tells Clive to shut up, asking him what made Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes such a pain to work with, the fact that they couldn't be controlled. So instead, Val decided to choose a loser, an idiot, failure who had no prospects in life, someone who could never become something on their own, not without Val. Val asks what happens when a loser finds someone who can give them a way to become something. It creates loyalty. Unyielding and unrelenting loyalty. A flabbergasted Clive tells Val that loyalty is a foolhardy excuse for the major risk she took, something Val brushes off, telling Clive that they will see after she has reacquired Radon and has shocked the world with the power of her new Golden Guardian of good. We cut back inside the office of Deng Xiaoping as we see him sitting at his desk reading internet articles about President Val as Hannaford rushes in, informing him that they have tracked an incoming flight from the United States, one that is not scheduled and is seemingly unaffiliated with any major airlines. Xiaoping springs up and puts on a headset, speaking into it and telling Xia Ling that the United States is back at it and that she should have her team prepared to deal with the incoming plane. While they still have their big man waiting inside the facility, her job is to ensure they do not get past the exterior. We then cut to see Xia Ling standing at the front of the entrance of the facility, telling Xiaoping that she understands and will have her team prepared. As Xia Ling hangs up, she shouts to her men, telling them that the Americans are coming and it is time to show them what the 10 Rings are made of. With this, we get a shot at over 1,000 members of the 10 Rings organization stationed around the exterior of the facility, all highly trained combatants who are considered masters in various areas of martial arts. Along with the soldiers, we see the 3 commanders who lead the 10 Ring grunts into battle. Douglas Scott, aka Razorfist, played by Habfor Julius Bjorsen. Aaron Cord, aka Midnight's Fire, played by Darren DeWitt Henson, and Lee Chin Lin, aka Death Dealer, played by Andy Lee. Xia Ling stands tall, admiring her soldiers as she laughs and says to herself, "Bring it on, Americans. I was born for this." We then cut inside the aircraft carrying the Thunderbolts known as the T-Bird, as we see Walker piloting the craft while the others sit in the cabin. We see Punisher sitting next to Shang-Chi, who is slouched over, tapping his foot violently as he caresses the 10 Rings. Punisher asks him what he is so anxious about, with Shang-Chi responding that he finds it hard to contain the fire inside of him. He is going to complete this mission and earn his freedom to return to his sacred mission. Punisher laughs, saying that he reminds him of his son. Both of them were very passionate and driven, even at a young age, asking him what he wants to do when he is free, with Shang-Chi responding that he will complete the mission given by his father to destroy the legacy of Tony Stark, something that causes Punisher to fall silent. We see Alexei sitting next to Yelena as he comments that he has an odd sense of deja vu, while Yelena asks him how he can always find a way to be positive, something that causes Alexei to shrug, saying that it doesn't matter the activity, as long as he gets to spend it with his daughter, he can't help but be happy. Ares smiles at this sentiment, saying that it warms his heart to see such a happy father-child relationship, admitting that he is a bit envious, telling Yelena that she should be grateful to have a father as encouraging as Alexei. Yelena rolls her eyes and turns to Robert, who we see is shaking and talking to himself, reading from a little card that he had stuffed in his pocket. Yelena asks Robert if he is okay, which prompts him to look up quickly and laugh awkwardly, saying that he is fine, just a bit stressed, so he decided to read the positive affirmations given to him by his therapist in order to calm down. Yelena looks at the bottom of the card, which has Robert's name printed on it, along with a small section listing his diagnosis of bipolar disorder. As Yelena looks up, Robert confirms that he not only suffers from bipolar disorder, but also trinophobia, a fear of needles. Flash asks Robert why he is scared of needles, responding that it came as a result of his exposure therapy when he was trying to get clean from his meth addiction. After his therapy sessions, he no longer wanted to use again, mainly stemming from his fear of needles. Walker calls from the cockpit, asking Robert what powers he gained as a result of his procedure. Robert shrugs, saying that he isn't really sure about any power, other than Val telling him that the procedure would help him become the man he always dreamed he could become. Walker curses under his breath while Flash asks the group what they thought about Val's comment about them being nothing more than killers. The group sits in silence before Tigra speaks up, saying that she feels that comments like that are meant to dehumanize the group. So much so they will become the very thing Val wants them to be, a group of cold-blooded killers who she controls to do her dirty work. Yelena laughs, telling Tigra not to kid herself. They aren't all out to kill for the sake of bloodshed, but some were born to be controlled by powerful individuals, made to be nothing more than a tool for their destruction. With this, the group falls silent as they continue to make their way towards China. We cut to a few hours later as we see the T-Bird quickly approaching the Qingling Mountain nuclear facility as we see Zhao Ling spot the plane, speaking to her headset and informing Zhao Ping that the Americans are approaching. Zhao Ping informs her they will shoot down the plane, and once they do, her team will handle the rest. As Zhi Ling says that she understands, Zhao Ping nods at Hennaford, who hits a button as we watch a small missile launch itself at the T-Bird, making direct contact. Inside the T-Bird, he watches everyone is unharmed, but Walker screams from the cockpit, saying that they must have been prepared for their arrival. Ares stands and smiles, saying that this is exactly how he loves to make an entrance, throwing open the T-Bird door and telling the group not to worry. He will neutralize the enemy while Walker finds a way to land the ship, as we watch him leap from the ship, screaming with excitement. Tigra screams, asking if he is crazy, which prompts Flash to stand, saying that he thinks Ares has the right kind of idea. Punisher growls at Flash, telling him not to do anything stupid, which causes Flash to laugh, asking Punisher if he is scared and reminding him of their bet, saying that he wants to get a head start, as we watch him leap from the plane using the symbiote as a parachute to glide to safety. Punisher sits in silence, with Yelena telling him that the best thing they can do is stick together, which causes Punisher to stand, grab a parachute near the ship door, and use it to glide out of the plane, screaming that he isn't going to lose a stupid bet to the idiot Flash. Alexei laughs hysterically, saying that he loves this group of idiots he is working with, before the entire group notices Robert, who begins screaming and lamenting that he is about to die. Shang-Chi tells him to calm down, but this only causes Robert to freak out more. Walker screams from the cockpit, saying that nobody else is going to jump out of the ship, as he is going to find a safe place to land and they will figure out the rest later. Yelena leans over and pats Robert on the back, telling him not to worry. They are a team and they will make sure that he gets out of this alive. This seems to calm Robert down as he calmly sits next to Yelena as we watch Walker perform an emergency landing in the forest that surrounds the facility. We cut to a few minutes later as we see Yelena, Alexei, Shang-Chi, Walker, Tigra, and Robert all walking away from the downed T-Bird. Walker complains about the ship and contemplates how the group will manage to return home, while Tigra inquires as to why Yelena was so concerned about Robert, with Yelena saying that it is clear that Robert was not suited for this kind of lifestyle, and if she can, she will do anything to make sure that he isn't harmed. As the group continues through the forest, Tigra abruptly stops the group, saying that she smells enemies hiding in the trees in front of them. Walker throws his shield at the trees as we watch around 5 grunts fall to the ground, who are all taken out by Shang-Chi. But as he defeats them, he abruptly stops, staring intently at the 10 rings insignia on their uniforms. Walker asks Shang-Chi if he is okay before Shang-Chi sprints away from the group, showing that he will catch up with them later. For now, he is to find his sister before anything happens to her. Alexei asks the group if they also heard the kid mention something about his sister, before Tigra alerts the group that the commotion caused by the kid has alerted more goons to their location, and they are now surrounded. Walker smiles, telling the group that he can't wait to see what they got as we watch Yelena, Alexei, Tigra, and Walker leap into battle while Robert stands cowering as he watches his 4 teammates mow down the enemy grunts with ease. As a battle ensues, he watches one of the grunts manages to break through and charges at Robert before he is hit in the back of the head by Walker's makeshift shield. Robert thanks Walker, but Walker is furious, screaming at Robert for not being anything more than an impediment on their mission, asking why he got the serum if he is too afraid to use it. As the remaining grunts are defeated, Yelena confronts Walker, telling him that his comments are out of line. A frustrated Walker turns and screams at Yelena, asking her if she thinks the circumstances are fair. Yelena pauses. Walker reveals that his participation in the Super Patriot program was meant to allow him to continue his dream, serving the United States in any capacity he could. Instead, he became known as the man who got his butt kicked by an old man and now works a glorified desk job because Val didn't think he was worthy enough of representing the might of the United States. Pointing at Robert, Walker asks what makes him so much more worthy than he. Walker understood what he was getting himself into, and he gave his life for the opportunity to continue honoring his country, only to be upstaged by a dude who cowers in the face of danger. The group stands in silence as Walker motions for the group to follow him, saying that their goal is to get the raid on and find a way to get out of here, as the five continue to make their way towards the facility's entrance. We cut to a different area of the facility as we see Ares casually walking closer and closer to the facility, as we see multiple 10 Rings grunts attempting to stab him, only for their daggers to be proven ineffective against the might of the god's skin. As Ares continues to walk, he sighs, saying that he wished for more of a challenge on this mission, as we suddenly watch Razor Fist and about 50 grunts walk up to Ares, with Razor Fist asking if he is a member of the American cohort that are attempting to interlope in Chinese affairs. Ares smiles, saying that if he is, would that mean that Razor Fist would be forced to face him in a duel, something that Razor Fist confirms. A delighted Ares screams with excitement and shakes off the 10 Rings grunts who had grabbed on him as he charges into battle against Razor Fist. On the opposite side of the facility, he watches Agent Venom rushes towards the facility, easily wiping out hundreds of 10 Ring grunts. We also see Punisher following close behind, counting the number killed by Venom, cursing, saying that he shouldn't have taken that bet with Flash. As we watch Venom approach the entrance to the facility, we see Jia Ling standing directly in front of the massive metallic door that guards the facility from outsiders. Venom smiles at her, saying that she will be his 200th kill, a nice even number to round out his total. As Venom leaps at her, we watch as Midnight's fire leaps into Venom as the two roll back into the forest and begin engaging in a duel. Punisher prepares his M16 to take out Jia Ling, as we see her contemplating her next move, admitting that perhaps the Americans are more prepared than they initially expected. As Punisher prepares to shoot, he is stopped by the sound of Shang-Chi screaming for Jia Ling. Shang-Chi lands in front of the entrance as Jia Ling begins scaling the mountain, running away from her brother. Shang-Chi follows after her, pleading for her to stop as the two appear to race each other to the very top of the mountain. Punisher scoffs, saying that while he might regret it, he can't let the kid go off on his own, especially when there are so many unknown factors currently in play. With this, he watches Punisher begin to follow Shang-Chi and Jia Ling up the mountain as absolute chaos has overtaken the area surrounding the facility. Back in the forest, we see Walker, Yelena, Alexei, Tigra, and Robert continue to walk towards the facility with a string of unconscious 10 Ring grunts lying in the pathway behind them. Walker walks ahead of the group while the other four stay behind, listening to Alexei tell stories about his exploits as a Red Guardian. After a while, we watch as Tigra walks up to Walker, who tells her to go away, saying that he isn't going to apologize or expand upon what was said earlier. Tigra walks next to him silently before telling Walker that he shouldn't be so hard on himself. Walker snaps at Tigra, saying that it isn't her place to tell him how he should or shouldn't feel, but Tigra remains calm, saying that she admires his mental fortitude. It is a quality she wishes she had. Tigra divulges the story of her origin. Her husband William was a police officer who was dispatched to arrest Dr. Tumalo for performing illegal genetic experimentation on animals. Tumalo, however, was prepared for this scenario and captured William, holding him hostage, offering to free him in exchange for a human guinea pig. Greer obliged and was injected with the serum that gave her the traits and abilities of a feline. But this was merely a ploy for Tumalo to carry out her sadistic experiments, as when the procedure was completed, Greer would find William's body. He was killed during the procedure. Walker asks Tigra what this has to do with his situation, but Tigra says that she used her power to take out her frustration on others. Her life was ruined, so why should anybody else be able to enjoy the feeling that she was robbed of? She ransacked stores, ruined lives, all so she could make herself feel better. She turns to Walker, saying that in contrast, he uses powers in a noble way, working in a prison filled with dangerous threats, helping to contain them and keep humanity safe. Even now, despite his anger, he is still leading his team, the first one who will face the enemy head on before any of his soldiers have to get injured. Tigra admits that she regrets what she did when she got her powers, saying that if she had the mental fortitude of Walker, maybe things would have turned out differently. Walker quietly smiles, thanking Tigra and telling her to keep up, as he thinks the facility is just up ahead. We then see glimpses of the other team members. Ares completely decimated Razor Fist and a small group of grunts, wishing that they had put up a better fight as he makes his way towards the facility entrance. The battle between Venom and Midnight's Fire, in sharp contrast, seems to be at a standstill, as Venom has done nothing but dodged and blocked. Midnight's Fire growls at Venom, asking him why he hasn't hit back, which causes Venom to smile gleefully, revealing that he didn't want to demoralize his rival with his high kill count, and he was merely using this battle to stall and allow Punisher to catch up to him. After all, what is the fun in dominating the competition competition when winning a close race is way more fun. Midnight's Fire once again leaps at Venom, who says that he feels that Frank has had more than enough time to catch up, landing a punch so powerful that it kills Midnight's Fire in one blow. We then cut to Punisher as he catches up with Shang-Chi, who is standing before Death Dealer as Xialing watches on from a short distance away. Punisher crouches in the brush as Death Dealer cackles, telling Shang-Chi that it has been a while since the two of them sparred, asking him if he remembers their record. Shang-Chi recalls that his record against Death Dealer was 0 wins, 1,974 losses. But this time will be different, as he isn't the same little kid as he was when he was sent to the United States. Death Dealer laughs as we watch him and Shang-Chi clash, and after a few minutes of battle, we see that Shang-Chi's mastery of the 10 rings is too much for Death Dealer to overcome as he falls over unconscious. Xialing stands and claps, saying that her brother really has improved, but still, he isn't enough to stop her. Shang-Chi drops his arms, telling his sister that he will not fight her, begging her to stand down so the two can talk. Xialing snarls at this request, launching herself at Shang-Chi and beginning an all-out assault on her brother. Punisher watches in horror as Shang-Chi is brutally beaten by his sister, who begins clawing at his face as blood drips from wounds all over his body. Frank tells himself that he has to intervene or the kid will be killed. He cocks his M16 and aims at Xialing. Shang-Chi screams, asking Xialing how she could do this to her own brother, something that causes Xialing to spit on him, saying that even her own flesh and blood does not matter when completing her father's sacred mission. Carrying on the legacy of the 10 rings is at stake. As Punisher hears this, he has flashbacks, seeing Frank Jr. and Lisa playing with one another, something that causes him to drop his guard before remembering that he is on this mission for his kids, trying to find the resolve to kill Xialing and protect Shang-Chi. Frank holds his gun steady, repeatedly muttering, "One batch, two batch, penny and dime," trying to pull the trigger but finding himself unable to. We watch as Frank throws his M16 to the ground and walks out of the brush, shouting at Xialing to stop. He points at her, saying that she should look down at who she is trying to kill. It's her own damn brother, her own flesh and blood. Frank laments about the lengths he would go to see his children again, recalling how much fun Frank Jr. and Lisa had playing together. He would give his own life if they could have the opportunity to play with one another one more time. He tells Xialing that he doesn't give a crap what sacred mission their father assigned them both to carry out. No mission is more important than family, and more importantly, siblings are supposed to help each other figure things out, telling the kids that parents are meant to mentor, but siblings, they are meant to guide each other down the right path. Punisher picks up his gun, saying that he doesn't know if what he did was right or wrong, but tells Shang-Chi that he is heading down to the facility's entrance, wishing both he and Xialing the best of luck, saying that he hopes they both figure out what they want from their lives. Xialing hops off Shang-Chi as the two siblings stare at one another before Shang-Chi leans in and hugs his sister, embracing her and says that he missed her so much. He wanted to go get her before she got hurt. As it turns out, Zhu Wenwu left his children with 2 sacred missions. For Shang-Chi, it was to use the 10 rings of power to get revenge on Tony Stark, while for Xialing, it was meant for her to take control of the 10 Rings organization. Something that led to the children being beaten and hardened starting at the young age of 5. There was no greater purpose in their lives in fulfilling their father's wishes. Shang-Chi was sent to the United States when he was 10, with his mother feeling that it would be better for him to get practical experience rather than simply training with the 10 rings, an action that caused Xialing to feel dejected and abandoned. Xialing begins to tear up, revealing that her mother died shortly after Shang-Chi left. She felt alone and felt that she had no reason to live other than to carry out her father's mission, something she didn't want to do but was forced to do, with it being ingrained in her head that not even family is more important than her mission. Shang-Chi tells his sister that maybe Frank is right, and together they can find a new path forward. Something Xialing shoots down, saying that she can't abandon her mission. If she does, she knows the Chinese government will track her down. Shang-Chi stands and tells her not to worry. If they do, her brother will be there to protect her. This causes Xialing to smile, as Shang-Chi tells her that they should go look for a method of transportation to get out of China. As the two siblings begin their hunt for transportation, we cut to the facility's entrance as Ares, Punisher, and Venom are reunited with Walker's group. Walker asks about the kid, but Punisher tells him not to worry. He will rejoin the group soon. Walker nods, saying that the group's mission is almost done, and as Ares busts down the door, the Thunderbolts officially enter the facility. We cut inside Zhao Ping's office as he is informed by Hannaford that the American cohort has gained entry into the nuclear facility. Zhao Ping angrily snarls but asks Hannaford to do something odd, requesting that he get President Val on the line for a video conference. Hannaford stands confused at first, but ultimately obliges as we see Val sitting with Vice President Carter and Secretary Cooper. Val smugly asks if Zhao Ping's call means that her squad has successfully completed their mission. Zhao Ping responds that they have gotten further than he expected, but he wanted to loop Val in, asking her if she would like to wager a bet on who makes it out on top. the United States or China? Val laughs hysterically, telling Xiaoping that he knows her too well. She wagers 500 billion if China stops the United States, while Xiaoping agrees to reopen radon exports if the United States completes its mission. Hannaford asks Xiaoping if he thinks this is a good idea, but Xiaoping tells him to hush and share the live feed with President Val. Inside, we watch as Walker leads his group down a dimly lit hallway, using a radon kit to track the strength of the radon gas, as the group finds themselves entering the large radon storage room. Tigra screams at the group to stop, as she is detecting another presence inside the room. As Val watches the feed, she laughs, telling Xiaoping that she thought he would have better security measures than this. Something that causes a large smile to overcome Xiaoping's face, as he tells her not to underestimate him. Suddenly, the group sees green smoke filling the room as Walker stands in complete and utter shock, mumbling, "What the hell is that?" As we watch Chen Lu, aka the Radioactive Man, played by Henry Golding, stand before the group. As the Radioactive Man launches himself at the group, Val and Xiaoping continue to talk. Xiaoping reveals that Dr. Chen Lu was the founder of the Qinling Mountain Nuclear Facility, who became obsessed with the prospect of creating a man as powerful as a nuclear warhead. And after exposing himself to a large amount of various kinds of radiation, he became that weapon. He now emits toxic radiation, has an intangible body, and is capable of wiping out enemies with one whiff of his green radioactive gas, power not even the golden serum could grant an individual. As Xiaoping laughs with excitement, Val sits in complete silence. Xiaoping asks her why she isn't responding, which causes Val to smile, telling Xiaoping that he should watch and find out. He watches Lu manages to capture the heroes in his radioactive grasp, except for Robert, who manages to hide behind a desk on the other side of the room. Lu laughs, saying that he loves to see people struggle, so he won't kill them as quickly as he killed the previous group of ne'er-do-wells who attempted to infiltrate his facility. Looking over at his operating desk, he spies his old lab equipment, clean syringes, scalpels, and gloves, saying that perhaps he should experiment on them and watch them die, slowly. Suddenly we watch as Robert throws a file box at Lou, screaming at him to let his friends go. Yelena screams for Robert to run, but Lou throws her against the wall, flying up to Robert and telling him that he has no patience for annoying pests who ruin his fun. As he sends a large blast of radiation at Robert, he slumps over, seemingly dead. Watching the action, Val laughs to herself, saying that this is the moment she has been waiting for. Xiaoping asks what she's talking about, when suddenly we watch the S on Robert's uniform given to him by Val begin to glow, as the shine begins to radiate over his entire body, as Robert stands, surviving the radiation and unlocking new powers in the process. Robert screams at Lou, cursing him for harming his friends as he flies at him in a fit of rage and begins to bash him. Xiaoping stands and screams, asking how he is able to land hits on a man whose body is intangible. Something that causes Val to laugh, saying that this is a power of the man who gained power through the golden serum, her sentry. A confused Xiaoping asks Val what the hell she is talking about, causing Val to introduce Xiaoping to the man known as her sentry, the perfect super soldier. His very name means one who guards and protects. The golden serum was created by the top scientists in the United States, granting its user the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, creating, in essence, the perfect soldier. He has superhuman strength, speed, stamina, is immune to almost all known toxins and radiation, can fly, manifest energy, and so much more. Val tells Xiaoping that Sentry was her ultimate trump card, a weapon more imposing than any nuclear weapon, something that would end the prospect of wars and cement the United States as the one true global power. Xiaoping watches in awe and terror as Sentry bashes Lu before he eventually falls over dead, unable to withstand the assault delivered by the Sentry. Xiaoping buries his face in his hands as Val says, "And that, my friend, is a checkmate. Can't wait for my first shipment of radon." As the group realizes what happened, Alexei screams in excitement, with Walker commenting that they didn't have that kind of super soldier serum when he signed up to get a dose. Elena asks Robert if he is okay, as we see Robert turn to normal, saying that he feels a bit weird, but that it was awesome to be a hero. He finally feels like he did something useful. All of a sudden, however, Robert begins to shake, saying that he feels like he has hit a low. All the excitement has caused him to feel a little bit queasy, and as he says this, the entire mountain begins to shake. Outside, we see Shang-Chi and Jieling searching for a ship, as Jieling recalls that Xiaoping mentioned that a previous group of soldiers sent by the US used a plane that should still be on the mountain somewhere, but their search is cut off as they also feel the tremor caused by Sentry. Robert screams that he was doing so good and he doesn't want to relapse, as Flash screams for somebody to do something, with Yelena attempting to confront Robert, but she is knocked back to the ground as she attempts to stand. Zhao Ping asks Val what is going on, but even the loudmouthed Val is speechless, unable to comprehend what is going on, as Sharon tells Cooper to grab Clive as fast as possible, as the group slowly watches the color fade from Robert's body, as all the golden light suddenly turns dark. As Clive rushes into the room, he stands shocked, telling Val that he has no idea what sort of reaction this is. As the tremor stops, Robert remains crouched over. Yelena stands, asking Robert if he is okay. But Robert laughs, saying that every high has its low. This is his low. And when the high ends, all that remains is the void. As Robert stands, he looks blankly at the group as Walker asks him if he is good, which causes Robert to unleash a powerful blast of energy that causes the room to explode and the feed to cut off. Val falls silent as Zhao Ping curses at her, saying that there is enough nuclear firepower in that mountain that it could level all of China. As the dust settles, Walker asks the group if they are okay, with Tigra saying that she doesn't think Robert is on their side anymore. Robert begins walking towards the group as Ares tells them not to worry. He is but a man, but Ares is a god. Ares walks up to Robert and punches him square in the face, which causes Robert to laugh as he lands a punch on Ares, which sends him flying back, nearly knocking him out. Walker yells at his group to go all out as we see the group swarm Robert. Tigra leaps at him, but Robert grabs her arm and breaks it like a twig, pushing her into Alexei and sending the two flying across the room. Venom leaps at Robert as the symbiote attempts to wrap itself around him, but instead Robert rips the symbiote out of Flash and throws it across the room. But as he attempts to land a direct punch on Flash, Punisher leaps in and unleashes a full round on him, but Sentry merely redirects the bullets back at Frank, who is saved by Walker, who leaps in front of the bullets and blocks them with his shield. This gives the symbiote enough time to reattach itself to Flash, but Robert still manages to fling him across the room. Yelena turns to Walker, telling him that something isn't right. This must be the serum interacting with his bipolar disorder. Walker asks Yelena what she proposes they do, which causes Yelena to frantically look around the room, where she spots the syringes and recalls Robert's trypnophobia, saying that if someone can distract Robert for a few seconds, she thinks she has a way to stop him. He watches Ares struggles to stand, saying that he might die, but he can at least attempt to buy her a minute. Yelena nods as she tells the group to hold out as long as she can. She has a plan that will not only save them, but also Robert. We watch Yelena rush towards the syringes as Ares attempts to put Robert in a headlock, a task that turns out to be exponentially difficult and requires Venom, Frank, and Walker to lend a hand. As Yelena grabs 3 of the syringes, she rushes back and stands on the opposite side of the room from Robert, yelling at him to come get her. As Robert attempts to break free from Ares and the others, we see Alexei regain his wits as he notices the expression on Robert's face. He isn't going to give Yelena any time to talk or move. He's going to launch himself at her with the intent to kill. In an effort to save his daughter, we watch as Alexei rushes to her aid. At the same time, Robert breaks free from the group and charges at Yelena, cocking his fist and preparing to end her. But as he launches his fist forward, it isn't Yelena he punches, but rather Alexei, as his fist impales him through his stomach. As Alexei begins to cough up blood, we watch as Yelena screams as she stabs the 3 syringes into her arm, something that catches the attention of Robert as he begins freaking out. As he pulls his fist outside of Alexei, he begins to panic as color slowly returns to his body, eventually falling to his knees and asking Yelena why she had to use needles at a time like this. Before he is eventually knocked out thanks to a powerful punch landed by Ares. Alexei falls to the ground as Yelena leans down with tears in her eyes, asking him why he did that for her. Alexei smiles, saying that he would do anything to save his daughter, and if today ended up being the day he died, he could die happy because he got to spend it with her. As the life begins to fade from Alexei's face, he tells Yelena not to worry. He will be joining Natasha and Melina soon, and they will be waiting for her to come home someday. As we watch Alexei, the man formerly known as Red Guardian, die in his daughter's arms. As the entire group stands around their fallen comrade, Yelena begins to wail and punches the ground with a mix of anger and sadness, saying that she is tired of having her life and the things she loves taken from her. She's tired of being a slave to the people in power. She's tired of not having a choice. Yelena continues to sob as we see Shang-Chi and Ji Ling rush into the radon storage room, informing the group that they managed to locate the ship used by the previous group sent by the United States, before Shang-Chi realizes what has happened, as he and Ji Ling stand in a silent memorial for Red Guardian. About 30 minutes later, we watch as Yelena, Shang-Chi, Ji Ling, Ares, who's carrying a chained-up Robert, Walker, Punisher, Tigra, and Venom, who's carrying the corpse of Alexei, make their way to the ship used by American Panther and take off to head home. Back in Washington, D.C., we see Val overwhelmed with the prospect of what happened in China as Carter and Cooper scramble to silence international news organizations about the incident. In the midst of the chaos, Julius rushes into the room, informing Val that the comms on the ship used by American Panther have come back online theorizing that it means somehow, some way, the Thunderbolts survived. An anxious Val tells him to connect her to the ship as she needs to talk to the group ASAP. As Walker pilots the ship, we see Val's face pop up on the control system, asking Walker for a mission report. Walker tells Val that they did not recover the radon, and they lost one soldier in the midst of their mission, and they are currently heading back to the United States. Val lets out a sigh of relief, saying that in most circumstances she would be upset about a failed mission, but considering she just avoided a bigger international incident than Vazin could ever dream of causing, she is relieved. Instructing Walker to return to Washington, D.C. and return Robert to them before heading to the raft. Before Walker can respond, Yelena interjects, telling Val that they will not be returning Robert until she agrees to their demands. Val laughs hysterically, telling Yelena that insubordination isn't a good look on her, but Punisher chimes in, saying that they are all in agreement. If she wants Robert, she has to play ball. Val begins to grow angry, asking the group for their demands, with Yelena demanding that she relinquishes control over the group. They will no longer be forced to work for her, and do anything that they wouldn't agree to do voluntarily. Val laughs, saying that this is too high of a demand, before Ares chimes in, saying that Val could purchase the Apostles of War and create a new branch of the government in the process, one that could house the Thunderbolts. Val sighs and agrees, saying that she will pay the $25 billion that he has asked for. But Yelena cuts her off, saying that she will pay $100 billion, a demand that causes Val to become uncomfortable as she begrudgingly agrees. After a few minutes of negotiations, the following terms were agreed to. In exchange for the return of Robert Reynolds, the United States government agreed to purchase the Apostles of War for $100 billion, converting the organization to the Department of War and Peace, which will house the Thunderbolts and be led by John Walker, decorated soldier who will communicate directly with Val and have the sole authority to accept, reject, and assign his team to any missions they agree or disagree to participate in. Along with getting full salaries and benefits, all charges levied against members of the group will be dropped. All this for Val to have her ideal soldier returned. As the call ends, Carter asks Val if she is okay, with Val struggling to respond, saying, "Well, for the first time ever, I think I've lost." Back on the plane, Walker commends Yelena for her negotiating ability, but Yelena does nothing more than sit down and smile, telling the group that she wanted to help out her new friends and honor her father by gaining back the one thing that will allow her to live her life as she wants, her autonomy. As Walker continues to fly the plane, The Winner Takes It All by ABBA begins to play. We cut to around a month later as we see Val sitting quietly in her office as she watches Amy Lou Johnston's daily press briefing on her monitor. During the briefing in question, Johnston formally announces the creation of the Department of War and Peace, a department that houses a government-sanctioned superhero team known as the Thunderbolts. Led by John Walker, whose members include Yelena Belova, Shang-Chi, Zhu Jialing, Frank Castle, Ares, Flash Thompson, and Greer Nelson. As the press conference finishes, Val gets a call from Zhao Ping, who says that as much as he hates to admit it, she won fair and square, and she should be expecting her first shipment of radon next week. Val tells Zhao Ping that her perfect soldier is now going through extensive psychological analysis. She was forced to pay a ton of money, relinquish a ton of control, and bended the knee to the very thugs that she sent on her suicide mission. He shouldn't kid himself. For the first time, she lost. Zhao Ping listens in complete silence as Val recounts her life. She was always near the top of her class. She was the cheerleader who got the quarterback. She was the student who had all the scholarships and job offers. She was always the person at the top, a feeling that was the closest thing to ecstasy she could ever experience. So she made a pact with herself. She would live her life in non-stop ecstasy, always on top. But now that she is lost, she feels that she has failed. Zhao Ping tells her that the only thing that matters is how she responds, a comment that causes Val to stare directly into the screen, telling Zhao Ping not to kid himself. She has lost once, but it won't be something that happens again. That she will make sure of. The Winner Takes All by ABBA begins to play again as we cut from an angry Val to a smiling Yelena, sitting inside a large building in downtown Washington, D.C., watching TV, sitting with the other members of the Thunderbolts as the project ends. In the first post-credit scene, we cut inside a small dark office as we see Caesar Cicero, aka Big C, played by John Turturro, shifting through documents as Alonzo Lincoln, aka Tombstone, played by Marvin Jones III, enters his office. Tombstone asks Cicero if he has heard the news, which causes Cicero to sigh, telling Tombstone not to make him guess, tell him the news, and move on. Tombstone informs Cicero that both the Punisher and Agent Venom have been seemingly removed from New York, so they now have two less heroes to worry about. This causes Cicero to smile, telling Tombstone to inform Hammerhead of the update. This is perfect timing as it perfectly aligns with the Magia's Day of Destiny. In the second post-credit scene, we cut inside a diner as we see Johnny Blaze, played by Omari Hardwick, Roxanne Simpson, played by Rocky Trackrar, Barbara Ketch, played by Patricia Allison, and Danny Ketch, played by Kedar Williams Sterling, enjoying a family dinner as their table is approached by two figures we assume are their waiters. Barbara asks for a refill before she realizes that the two men before her are not their waiter, but instead Mark Spector, played by Oscar Isaac, and Frenchie, played by Tomer Capone. Blaze asks if he can help the two men, with Frenchie asking if the two men sitting before them are Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch. Blaze laughs awkwardly, asking what business they have with him that is of such great importance that it would interrupt their family dinner. Spector smiles, saying that a friend of theirs, police officer Stacy Dolan, informed the duo that she encountered a credible supernatural threat at their household, asking if he can discuss a world-altering opportunity with both Blaze and Ketch. And that is Thunderbolts. Yes, a very long project. I was not really planning on making Thunderbolts super long, but it's such a character-driven story. I didn't think that I could really condense the story like I have for others and really get across what I wanted to get across with the Thunderbolts. So we've gotten introduced to Sentry, we've had the Thunderbolts form their team, and yes, in the second post-credit scene, we have another hint of what's to come with Midnight Sun. So things are looking up for Rebooted MCU. Stay tuned for Spider-Woman, which will be the next project, and I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend, and stay tuned for more updates, and I will see you all in the next episode. This is JT Videos, signing out. Goodbye.